YouTube, welcome back. I've got some bloom buds and bloom spikes around the orchid growing area. I really want to show it to you. I also got a lot of vegetables growing out there, a lot of progress growing I want to share with you. So let's get going. First, I want to take you to the outdoor shower where I have a really nice three surprises. First up is Cattleya aclandia. And this one has three buds this time. Last year I had two. Only one of the pseudobulbs was blooming last year. This time I have two new pseudobulbs. So what I am learning about this orchid is that it will only bloom on new pseudobulbs. And if it had missed the chance to bloom, if a pseudobulb has missed a chance to bloom, it won't bloom. And it is a fairly good grower. I've got it in charcoal, lava rock, and a little bit of sphagnum moss in there. It's pretty much very large media, so it won't rot easily, and the roots are really loving it. It's growing underneath the pot, as you can see. Do give it pretty high light right here in the outdoor shower where it's got about a 50% shade cloth, and it gets a lot of rain lately. We've been getting rain almost every week, sometimes twice a week. I remember last year it was blooming during Mother's Day, so this year it's a little bit late. Okay, right next to aclandia is Vanda Robert's Delight Variety Black. And I remember I got this from Lowe's so long ago, and it only bloomed one time for me. I think it was last year or the year before last. This year, we've got a pretty long bloom spike. The roots are doing great. I really love the way that it looks, and I didn't want to pot this one. I have potted the other Vandas, but this one I wanted to keep the roots free to enjoy more of a tropical look. And the third surprise in this shower, right next to us, is Vanda Pachara Delight, and this one is blooming for the second time in less than 6 months. The last time it bloomed was, I think it was in bud in November and bloomed in December. And I didn't grow this one from a seedling or a small orchid. This one is growing so nice and upright, as you can see, and I don't take credit for it. I bought this one at Lowe's about 2 years ago, I think, or maybe a year and a half ago. But it's a really good one, really healthy one. It came with two bloom spikes when I bought it, and then it bloomed for me, as I mentioned last December. And then this year, it's blooming right above the old bloom spike, and it surprised me where it bloomed, basically, where it's coming out. And the roots, you remember I was telling you before, it had been hacked back by, um, I don't know, either at Lowe's or at the Better Grow, wherever it came from. And it didn't get set back at all with all that root being chopped back. I'm glad. And the new growth also looks really good. I may cut off some of these old leaves. That is not necessary anymore, so that it would encourage more rooting at that area. Something I am doing differently this year on Pachara Delight is that when I saw this spike, I soaked it in a little bit of fertilizer in a bucket, the roots, and kept it there for about half an hour. And then a week later, I soaked it again in a little bit of fertilizer to see if I can feed the bloom spikes and maybe get a really nice bloom spike this year. This one is not part of my surprise, just wanted to show you that Dendrobium microchip is doing great. And then this next one is Rhynchostylus celestis times koki. And I got it last year in the spring. I broke a couple of roots here, and I think maybe that's why it's set back a little bit, because it's not giving me a bloom spike. Normally it blooms in the spring. Regardless, the orchid looks really healthy, and we have new growth as well as healthier, thicker roots and new branching of roots as well. So maybe it'll send out its bloom spike later this summer. Who knows? Okay, let's head over to the kitchen window. I've got this Vanda here. Now, I keep calling the other one Fuchs Delight. This one is actually Fuchs Delight. And next to it, I've got a couple of blooming orchids right here. And then I've got another one in spike right here. But let's go back to Fuchs Delight and talk about it some more. This one, I think it's only bloomed for me one other time. And I also got this one as a bag baby, real small, years and years ago. And basically, I put all the other Vandas in coconut coir when I did the video of potting most of those Vandas up. And this one, I didn't put it in coconut coir. It was in a smaller basket already, and I couldn't undo the roots without destroying most of the roots from the if I wanted to remove it from the smaller basket. So instead, I put the orchid from the smaller basket into a large hanging basket that you see, and then I lay some of the coconut fur fiber on top of the roots just to keep it from getting too dehydrated, or I'm sorry, keep it, to let it have some media on there for moisture. And you know what? I thought that it only bloomed one other time for me, but I've got two bloom spikes on it. And I guess it must have bloomed one other time. I couldn't remember it. And some of the leaves, unfortunately, are a little burnt from either, I think it's just, I left it out. It's too much sun. And that's C summer spot times B nodosa right here. And this is Dendrobium Royal chip. And it's such a long time bloomer. This is amazing how long it's been blooming. Okay, this one. This one is Ymd Queen Adelia. And I got a small little piece of it from my friend V a long time ago, about 3 years ago. And it's really taken off, gotten several new pseudobulbs. And now we have two bloom spike. So the bloom buds are almost done maturing. As you can see, it turned from green to yellow, and the flower should be yellow, so it should be opening soon in the next few days. And this next second bloom spike is not quite ready. Maybe we've got another 2 weeks before it turns yellow. And I've got the plant mostly in clay pebbles and some moss mixed in between. And this particular one, I might be exposing it more sun than it really needs, or more bright light than it really needs. All right, let's go underneath the pergola, and I've got several surprises here. This one is a Dendrobium, Genting Royal. And I think we have 3 bloom spikes here. It's getting healthier and healthier every year. I did have spider mite issues with it, and I've been able to hopefully control that now with spraying underneath the leaves with alcohol. And I repeated, and I noticed that's really the key too, is the repeated spraying underneath the leaves. I also am planning to do some spraying of diatomaceous earth on this one. I've done all of William's orchids. I've sprayed all of his orchids with diatomaceous earth, but not on my collection yet. A few of mine had diatomaceous earth, but not the entire collection yet. Some Latoria orchids here. Okay, this one is really the one that I want to show you next. That has a lot of bloom spikes. I really am looking forward to all the bloom spikes that will show up on here, all the bloom spikes that will bloom on this. On the left side of this huge metal basket is Dendrobium Sherry Abe. And Dendrobium Sherry Abe came to me from William's collection, and it's a really big Latoria hybrid. It is, it was blooming, well, it is actually still, it still has its bloom spike right here. It had like 4 or 5 bloom buds, and a couple of fell, and then 2 more fell, so now it only had one bloom flower, only one flower on it. And then on the right side of this basket is a no ID Dendrobium phalaenopsis, and it's got 2 new growth kings on it. And we have 3 bloom spikes on this orchid. The 2 you can see in front of us right here, but the third one is on a much taller king right behind here. And they're both together in this basket, sharing this wide basket. I may take this basket apart. I have a lot of snails here, and it's been eating up some of the new growth. And this one is Maxillaria tenuifolia, the coconut orchid, the red variety. And it smells heavenly, like pina colada. And I think I mentioned that I will dismantle this particular basket once it's done blooming, because there's just too much in one basket. And I remember that I have this potted in sphagnum moss, so I do need to renew this moss. It is in this basket for, I think, at least 3 years now. And this one is Dendrobium bracteosum times 10. I just wanted to point this one out to you, but it's been continuously blooming, but not on this. It's been dropping blooms, since, I guess, November. But it's just amazing how that huge cluster of blooms is still, a little bit of it left. Okay, this last one is the my best bloomer this year. It is the Maxillaria tenuifolia, the Yamada variety, and it is extremely fragrant. If I had to compare, I would say definitely this one is a stronger scent than the red one. And I don't know if that's really true for that as a standard, but for some, well, I'm thinking this particular yellow one might just be healthier than my red one. So that might be why the scent is much more powerful on this yellow one than my red one. And this yellow one is comprised of 3 plants together, 2 of them from Carmela and 1 of them from William. Now, I just potted this last year, so I don't anticipate having to repot it in the next couple of years. And I hope that it'll continue to just lengthen and grow new pseudobulb above the old ones. And I don't plan to propagate by cutting down the pseudobulbs, because as I was saying before, I noticed that on Maxillaria tenuifolia, it doesn't bloom on the first bottom pseudobulb. I haven't seen it bloom at the first bottom pseudobulb. Usually second tier, third tier, fourth tier. So the higher it goes, the more likely it blooms. I haven't seen it bloom at the bottom, so I don't plan to chop it down. I almost forgot one more, Dendrobium jenkinsii. It is blooming for the second time, but on different pseudobulbs. I'm not sure what's triggering this difference in timing between last month's one single bloom and this month. I have about one, two, three buds that dried up and is not coming to fruition. It might be because the youngness of the plant that it is not supporting all the bloom buds. And I'm noticing that the leaves on Dendrobium jenkinsii is fairly easy to burn. I have to be careful during the winter when I'm subjecting it to bright light. Sometimes I subject it to too much direct sunlight that I notice that the leaves are scorched. I guess my bright light is still too warm for the orchid. I'm really excited also about the vegetable garden, the progress in there. So let me bring you to that. This is chayote, and I'm actually getting some chayote now. Let me see if I can point them out to you. There is one right there. And then there's another one. And I come out in the morning and I pollinate them by hand, taking the male flower and rubbing it onto the female flower. And you can tell the difference because the female flower will have a little tiny baby chayote on there. If it doesn't get pollinated, the baby chayote will just dry up and die off. So I can leave it up to the bees, but I try to just hand pollinate it to make sure that it actually got done. And and I noticed one thing about this plant is that it has to get to about 8 feet, almost 7 or 8 feet before it will actually grow a female flower. And I've got it in a small pot. It's really not big of a pot, so I'm going to have to feed it very often to sustain all this fruit. And then over on my left side of the arch is a cucumber plant. And this is a really long variety of cucumber. I've been getting super long cucumbers on this one. At first, I thought it was overgrown, but my friend told me, the friend that gave me the seed said that it actually gets even longer. So I have just left it on the vine, and it sure enough is pretty long. Sometimes it's definitely longer than my hand, and I'm just not used to growing cucumbers that are that large. And this one is super prolific. I also hand pollinate this one, and I water it quite a bit because cucumber takes a lot of water. You see all the blooms and all the tiny cucumbers on there. And then my bell pepper, this is Bell, the variety called Bell, Belle. And this is Husky cherry tomato, also doing really good. I love this cherry tomato. This one is a grape cherry tomato also. It is a super prolific too. I just can't believe how well it's doing, and I don't know the name of it because a friend of me gave me the little plant. And she doesn't know the name of it. So I string all the tomatoes and tie it up on the arch to support it. Now this one is a cucumber also. It's a pickling variety. So it stays small, and I like this one a lot. It's very prolific. Smaller cucumbers tend to give you a lot of quantities. And this is the other side view of the chayote plant. And this one has had too many blooms, so I actually pull some of the blooms off that are the male flowers to save them the energy. I'm not sure what to do with all the extra cucumber I'm going to get. I don't know how to can or jar anything yet, so I think I'm going to have to do some research on how to do this because it's going to be a lot of cucumbers. It's more than we can eat. First things I do every morning is come out and pull any snails that I find or any caterpillars I find. There tend to be a lot of caterpillars right now this season on tomato plants and snails on cucumbers and on tomato plants. And this one is I have a few cherry tomato also on the green stalk. It's just an experiment to see if it'll work well on the green stalk. And then in the back garden by the fence, we have fuzzy melon right here. I have my first melon and I hand pollinate this one too. You can tell it's pollinated when the little parts below the fruit has turned dark. And then I want to show you this green bean. It's amazing. This is contender bush bean, and it has beans already. I've been able to harvest a few beans for lunch, and I can't believe such a small plant has beans already. So, and I did put some of the contender bush bean also on my green stalk, on the smaller green stalk. I want to see if that will work too, because I'm noticing that the roly-polies are eating some of the little tiny green beans. So I'm losing a few of them. I have some tomatoes over here too. And I found out what's been eating my tomato plant. It's the roly-polies. Okay, I think I'm going to harvest a cucumber for lunch today. Well, that is all for this one. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.